Hello Garden How to friends and visitors to the workshop. We are going to show how to make your own sauerkraut. And we are going to show it in the old traditional way. Not the modern one, not civilized ones, but the old traditional way as our grandparents have done it before. I brought these samples from the sauerkraut I made recently, from the white one and from the red one. They are not quite ready yet because this one was done 5 days ago, only 5 days ago. This one was done 2 days ago. So they still are processing, fermenting inside of it. So we can play with them to taste how it still tastes like. But you have to wait until fermentation finishes. It takes about a week at least. Let's start from the beginning. How to choose the cabbage? The cabbage has to be fresh, first of all. Because what I noticed that when it stays for long, it dries out. It loses natural juices. When you buy cabbage that's already was stored before, it loses its ability. It's like when you take the cabbage to dry, you should listen the crust within. So there is still air between the leaves. That's the good cabbage for the sauerkraut. When it stays in a storage for long and then brought to the market, it becomes packed. You'll cut this one and let's discover how it looks inside, because what's inside it matters too. See how white is this one? Very white one. But that one is older. I bought this one like maybe 2 weeks ago. You cut in half. See how much space is there between the leaves. And there is still the greenery, the natural greenery, which is not faded over the storage yet. Natural smell, and you can see how fresh is that. Then you cut it out by doing the V-cut. To remove this core and give it to rabbits. It's a good one too. So let's start from the half of it. How will you cut it? You cut as thin as possible. You hold the cabbage close to the board so that you don't cut it in the air, but you cut it to the board like this. Very thin, because the thinner you cut, the more juices you extract from it, right from the cutting. And our purpose is to make these juices to get fermented thanks to the salt. Okay? See how small is the board. That's why I brought the pot to put the cabbage. Otherwise, back home, our cut the cabbage right on the countertop without the boards. But it's nice to have the wooden board to cut the cabbage on. Of course, these are the modern boards. They are glued. The best boards to cut the cabbage are the boards made from natural wood. I can continue cutting like this, or I can use the specific cutting boards which I brought here with these knives. Then I just put the pot and cut to the smaller piece. And use the board to cut. So the knives of this board are made so close to each other that they cut the cabbage very thin. I'll just finish this piece using the board, and then we'll cut back to using the knife. Oh, I think I forgot to mention, you don't have to wash the cabbage before cutting. You don't have to get water to be involved in the process. You would like to get it as natural as possible. Some people suggest to let the cabbage sink in the water before cutting, so that the water is accumulated inside. I don't like that approach, because the cabbage itself becomes watery. And I would like to eat the sauerkraut when it's crusty, not slimy, you know.
Slimy.
It's slimy. Sometimes you buy ready sauerkraut in stores, and it is slimy. It's not what I would like to make by myself. So I'll finish this knife. For some reason I make it faster with knife.
So Oleg, the red sauerkraut, does that have beets in it? The red sauerkraut.
The red is from the red cabbage.
Red cabbage.
Yeah. There is a cabbage and also carrot. And I added, just for the experimenting, I added seeds of cumin, and I don't like the taste.
Oh. What about caraway? That's more traditional.
Caraway, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caraway is more pleasant.
Yeah.
Or the dill seeds.
Yeah.
Or dill.
Also
Yeah.
add the dill seeds. Right now fermenting is becoming popular, so it's up to you how to play with it. You can mix in beets, you can mix in other root vegetables like turnips. You can play with it. You don't have to overcome the ingredients. The percentage of ingredients in the sauerkraut should not be more than 25%. The rest should be all cabbage. I do it to release more juices. Doesn't matter what size it will be inside, but good idea to release the juices. And then we add the salt. The salt should be the coarse one. I use this Ukrainian salt. You have to feel how much salt you need before putting too much or too little. And then you feel how the juices coming out from the cabbage.
So how much did you put on like that handful? How much would that have been?
Quarter cup?
Quarter cup? Less than a quarter cup?
Less. I think it's like
An eighth of a cup?
tablespoon, like 2 tablespoons.
Two
2
tablespoons.
tablespoons, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's not all the cabbage, so you still got more.
correct. Yes, I still have to mix it together.
Mhm.
But just for the show purpose, I do it here. So that you see how does it work.
Yeah, you can start to see the liquid.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Keep in mind that you don't have to mix the carrot before adding the salt. That's the mistake that I made myself. When you mix carrot with the cabbage before adding salt, the cabbage darkens. The sauerkraut becomes dark. When you add the salt wraps the cabbage, the salt protects the cabbage. The salt keeps the cabbage light in color. It is same like when you peel out the carrot and leave it in the air, it darks up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same it does with the cabbage, inside the cabbage, before the salt. When it's with salt already, the cabbage is protected, so it will not darken out.
So when you mix it with that other stuff that you have in the pot, will you add more salt again?
Yes and no. You just have to taste it. First of all, you have to feel when. See,
Yeah.
Hmm.
it's coming out here. You can squeeze it here, inside. But let's mix it up together. Do not lose more juice in it. And then we continue mixing inside. First of all, I'll mix with existing salt, and then I'll taste it and see if I need more salt. Because the amount of salt is only to make the cabbage fermented. It's not for the taste.
So how does the salt make the cabbage ferment? Because you need yeast to cause fermentation.
The reaction goes between the natural juice of the cabbage and the salt itself. Same with other vegetables too.
So you don't have alcohol being produced.
No,
So it's not fermentation, that's something else.
It's a form of fermentation.
It's some kind of chemical response for sure.
the alcohol is produced when there is a sweet stuff. Like when you ferment, like when you make apple vinegar, that's fermentation too.
Yes, it is.
That's where alcohol is produced,
Yeah.
from the sugar.
Yes.
When you make wine, the grapes, it's also fermentation.
That's right.
But there is the sugar makes it alcoholic. Over here, no, there is no alcohol. Maybe that's enough salt. It's juicy enough, and also, let's taste it. You want to taste?
I've got my braces on, but I'll have a taste. How goes with
Is they salted?
not a little bit, but
Not much. Yeah.
you can really taste the freshness in the cabbage because the cabbage doesn't have that kind of astringent. You know, how sometimes it almost tastes hot.
Yeah.
This just tastes sweet. Mhm.
I might add a little bit salt, but again, not too much. Like maybe half of tablespoon. Okay, let's leave the cabbage. You can leave cabbage like for half an hour to get to stay like only this with the salt, and then I do other vegetables to add. You'll peel the carrot. Only after cabbage has sat for a while with the salt and it released more juices with the help of the salt, only then it's time to add carrot and other ingredients. You can see that it's already, you can see that cabbage is juicy enough already. It's sparkling with the juice, if you see that. And now we are adding carrot here, mixing in the carrot, approximately one good-sized carrot per, say, 2 pounds cabbage head. That's of course my own taste, but you can vary the amount of carrot you add to your sauerkraut. And today I'm playing with the caraway seeds. I also add some caraway seeds here too. Only after you mixed in all other ingredients to the cabbage, it's time to store the cabbage in a pot. So now I transfer all of this juicy mix into the pot. And then you press all cabbage down so that it stays tight and it speeds up. It not speeds up, it does stimulate the fermenting process when the cabbage stays packed in a big amount, okay? So that cabbage was like 3 pounds, right?
Okay.
Probably. So for 3 pounds cabbage, I believe 2 carrots good-sized carrots. That's how it looks right now.
Mmm,
Looks great to
it's
me.
like coleslaw.
Looks good.
Smells good.
Yes, it does smell good too.
Yeah. It smells fresh.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of visual representation of a good proportion
Yeah.
of the cabbage and carrot. And if you can zoom closer, there is juice already started to accumulate it naturally, see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's coming through. Okay, so remaining part is to let it stay for the fermenting. What we do is to find the weight to put on the cabbage. In old traditional way, the best way to store the sauerkraut is the wooden barrels. It's hard to find the wooden barrels in these times in age, right? And it's best to put the wooden board on the top. Okay? Instead of wooden board, I use a plate, as flat as possible plate. Put it like this, and then I put a weight like a stone. Okay? Let it stand for a week. But on the next day or two, you come back. Oh, well, of course, you put it in a warm place, but not overly warm, like room temperature place. So, to cover from the air, I just put a cotton cloth, let it stand. When I opened the pot on the next day after I packed the cabbage, I noticed these bulbs started to appear. You can see them here, and if I push this stone here, they're popping up more here, see? These bulbs are the signs that the carbon dioxide gas is coming out. And now we have to pierce the cabbage in several places to the very bottom of the pot or the jar, if you packed your cabbage in a jar, to let the air come in inside. Without air, the process of lactic acid fermentation is impossible. I removed the rock and the plate, and now I take this spike from the barbecue kit and pierce it out in several places up to the bottom. To let the air come in inside. Did you hear? That's a very pleasant sound. A kind of confirming that the fermentation process is going on. So I just pierce around the pot several times, and that's enough. And I have to repeat the same piercing like 3 times a day. I'm done for today, and I will put the plate back and cover with the rock. So guys, I'm checking my sauerkraut on the next day. I keep the pot in this cooler room, and as you can see, there is lots of foam being formed along the edge of the plate. So the process is going on quite actively and successfully. But in the meanwhile, I have to come back again and pierce the sauerkraut at least once a day. Here you go, I take this spike and I pierce it again in several places around, pierce up to the bottom. You might feel the smell, the unpleasant smell that is coming from this sauerkraut here. But this smell will go away when fermentation is over. Don't think badly about your sauerkraut here. So this is all expected. When we start moving sauerkraut to the jar, it is worth to mention that we have to pack the sauerkraut inside the jar too. Do not let the sauerkraut stay loose. You have to press the sauerkraut down so that the juices will be released and all content of the sauerkraut inside the jar stays in juice too. Okay, as you can see, as soon as I start pressing, the juices started to release. I think now it's even better visible here. As you can see, there is a liquid, lots of it here. Very beneficial, very delicious liquid. And I continue to move the sauerkraut into the jar here. You have to make sure that all content is covered by the liquid inside the jar. Alright folks, that's how you can create your own sauerkraut. That is a detailed plan you can follow to not only make a mix of fermented vegetables, but create your own sauerkraut that is healthy, tasty and flavorful. If you stick to the guidance I provided, you will fall in love with the sauerkraut and you'll keep it making year over year over year. I promise that. If you have any questions on how to improve the sauerkraut that you used to make before, or if you are completely new to sauerkraut and you would like to start your own, please post your questions below in the comment sections and I will be happy to answer each and every one of them. And once you finished your first sauerkraut, tell me, how was this experience for you? What did you find still questionable? Thank you again for watching my presentation, and if you need help with anything else, I would love to hear from you. Send me direct email to gardenhowto@gmail.com. Thank you for watching from Garden How To.